What's up, kiddos? Trowbro on location in the yard room again, getting ready for school to start soon. And today on our e-learning with Trowbro, we're going to be looking at how to draw Bob the Minion. You're right. I might have said Bob the Builder, but I didn't. I said Bob the Minion because minions are way better than Bob the Builder. I think. For me, they are. So let's go ahead and get started. Banana.
Alright, so I got my picture of Bob here on the left, and I went ahead and I traced it to look at the simple shapes that make up Bob's body. I don't want to look at all the details right now, I just want to see the shapes that make up his body and his form. And then over here on the right, I'm going to start drawing very lightly those shapes that I see on the left. I'm going to start with that big kind of round potato shape, and then that plus. Now the plus isn't really on Bob's body, the actual real one. We draw this little bitty this plus sign, this cross, and it's going to help us draw his eyes and his mouth in the right shape because we want correct proportions in our drawing. So make sure that you're drawing lightly because we are going to need to erase some of these lines at the end. Remember, this is a YouTube video, so if you feel like I'm going too fast, pause the video, rewind the video if you need. Now I'm drawing Bob's hand right here, and I drew his palm as a circle, and then all of his fingers I kind of just drew as a giant fan. Usually when I draw hands like that are open and all the fingers are sticking out, I usually will draw a fan to make sure that all the fingers are kind of like the right shape and I don't have like one finger a lot bigger than the other finger, and this will help me make sure that the proportions are right for his fingers. I do that for both hands. Alright, now his pant legs look kind of like an upside down trapezoid, and then you have his two little boots, and I would say they look like two dinner rolls. One's a little bit sticking further to the left and the other one's kind of coming more at you, so there's kind of this weird perspective type thing going on. So I'm just going to draw it like I see it, but two little dinner rolls, not too bad. Alright, I'm going to erase part of his pant leg right here, and then let's bring back our picture of Bob and start drawing some of those details that we see in his face. And I'm going to start with those two big circles that make up his eyes. Now remember, I'm drawing on like this tablet, so like I'm looking at my computer screen, but I'm drawing on this little Wacom tablet down here, and circles are a little bit hard for me, but I'm going to do the best I can. And I'm going to draw kind of like, looks kind of like a number 8, his goggles do, because they're two circles together, so it's like an 8 on its side and then two circles on the inside. And I'm going to draw that the best I can, and it takes up almost his entire body. Alright, now for Bob's eyes, he's got irises, which is kind of like that hazel color, and then he's got his pupils, which are the little black centers of his eyeballs, and then you can see there's a little glare of light in the top left round, I want to say corner, but there's not corners in the circle, so but you get the idea. Kind of in the corner, those two little white glares, I'm going to draw those. So one of the interesting challenges we have for Bob our Minion right here is that Minions is a 3D cartoon. So far, all the drawings we've done so far on our My Drawing series have been 2-dimensional. So this 3D character right here, you know, he's got a lot more value. And so when I'm drawing his mouth right here, and I look at his tongue, there's like all this shadow. There's not like a black line that says this is where his tongue is, this is where his mouth is, this is where his teeth are. So we're gonna kind of have to make this up. We're kind of adapting this 3D picture to a 2D. So when I go to draw Bob's teeth right here, I'm not going to just draw teeth randomly. I count, there's 5 teeth, so I want to make sure that he has 5 teeth in the picture. And then I'm going to kind of put his tongue maybe a little bit bigger because I feel like the shadow doesn't show all of his tongue, so I'm going to kind of draw his tongue where I think it is. And then right underneath his mouth we have his overalls, which kind of looks like a square shape that kind of comes down and then curves into what would be like pockets for his overalls. So I just draw that. Looks kind of like a J shape, kind of like a triangle but with a rounded edge on one. So let's draw that the best I see it. Then I'll draw that pouch right there on the front. Just kind of a straight line and then a U shape. And then after that I'm going to go up and add some of those details to the goggles, like the side where the strap is. I'm going to draw those. Hands can always be a little bit tricky for new artists and maybe even some veteran artists, and so like I feel like usually when the hands are out and you can see all the fingers, it's probably one of the easiest times to draw hands. And so I'm just going to be kind of going from that circle that makes up his palm and drawing his thumb and then his fingers. And then look at the picture on the left, you see that like little white shape in between his fingers and the red line. Alright, I want to make sure that I'm trying to copy that shape as I'm drawing those fingers, because there's like that shape of negative space in between his fingers, and so I'm making sure that it's the right size. And that's really all you can do. Kind of just look at it on the left and then try to make sure that you're drawing it the exact same. The more you practice this, the better you're going to get at it. His gloves kind of come down, get a little bit wider, and kind of like a straight line with these nice rubber gloves. Alright, let's go ahead and draw these boots that he's wearing. And now these boots, if you look, there's the top part and then there's the bottom sole. Alright, that rubber sole right there. Ooh, that's a good Beatles album, but that's a side note. So there's kind of like a line right there at the bottom of this dinner roll, and then there's another line that kind of just follows right along the bottom, and it's kind of parallel. It kind of follows the same path, and so you don't want one part of the sole to be like fatter or skinnier than the other part. It's kind of the same thickness, that whole sole all the way down, and so each one of his boots has that. All right, now that I got the boots done, his pants kind of flare out, so they kind of stick out a little bit further from the boot, so I'm going to kind of fix his pants so it looks more like the picture on the left. Also notice that nice little negative space between his boots. There's a little white tiny gap on the picture on the left, so you want to make sure that you have that same little negative space shape. Alright, now I'm almost done, and I'm going to start going over all my lines a little bit darker, but I have totally forgotten that I have not done the overall straps. And I realize it here in a second, and then so I'm gonna, after I draw like half of it darker, I'm gonna then go ahead and draw the straps. Oops. Now, I'm not really sure how I missed the straps, but it happens. Sometimes we forget things. We're too close to the project. But the straps are pretty easy to draw. They're just kind of like rectangles that are slanted, diagonal rectangles that come right from like kind of his armpit right down to the corners of his overalls. And then there's that little circle button, and there's a little plus of the thread, because when you have buttons, they're usually sewn to the fabric. And so I'm just gonna add a little plus inside that circle, add it on both sides. Kind of just drawing these rectangles how I see them. Alright, now I have officially drawn all the shapes on the left, on the right, on my drawing, so now I can go back to darkening all of my lines that I want to keep. So I'm going to speed this up. So it's very satisfying, I think, to see somebody draw something really fast. It actually took me about 40 minutes in total to draw this whole thing, but the video that you see, it's kind of shrunken down. Looks like I drew it in like 12 minutes, but it takes me a little bit longer. You know, I take my time. Make sure that it is, it's looking good. Sometimes I realize that when I'm going over the darker lines that maybe his shape is a little incorrect, like his pouch right here. I feel like it's a little bit bigger. I think I didn't draw big enough originally, so I'm going to draw it the correct way. That's why drawing very lightly is so important when you're drawing, because I'm going to erase that line later, and I don't want to see it after I erase it, because that's the worst, is when you go to erase the line and you still see it. So I'm going to go back to drawing a little bit darker, and then I'm going to start shading in his eyeballs, gloves, and then I'm going to erase everything. And something that's important is like these this denim that he's wearing that makes up his overalls. There's like this little yellow stitching, and so as soon as I clean up everything after I go and darken his gloves and his eyes and his iris and all that stuff, then I'm going to go back and I'm actually add these little bitty lines to make the denim look a little bit closer to the picture on the left, because right now looks like a nice little cartoon version, but I think I can do a little bit better, add a little bit of detail to it to make it look even better. Alright, now my favorite part, I'm going to start erasing all the unwanted lines of Bobby here, and you can start to see the drawing really come alive. Always awesome. Alright, now I'm going to draw some of the stitching that holds the denim overalls together on Bob here, and you can kind of see it like those little yellow thread on his on the seams. It's like the stitching that holds it together, and so I just add these like little lines, kind of like little dotted lines, kind of around like the pocket and then like all of the overalls. Kind of gives it just a little more realistic feel to it. Alright, now here's another little hack. I colored all the buttons all black, and now I'm going to take a little eraser and add the little plus signs of the stitching of the buttons. Really nice little touch. Alright, now I'm going to keep erasing some of the unwanted lines, and I think I might darken some of these lines too, and then my Bob is all done. He probably could be a little bit wider. It's kind of a skinny Bob, maybe one on a diet. I don't know, but it still looks pretty good like Bob, and I am all done.
Well, kiddos, I hope you had fun drawing Bob the Minion. And remember to keep practicing. And if you want me to showcase the Minion that you drew today, have your parents email me right here at my email address at school. And next week, I will feature your drawing on my YouTube channel. So I will see you next week.